Well, the short answer is yes. Adrianne Lenker, front person of World's Maybe Best Band and frequent dropper of brilliant solo albums, is indeed our songiest songwriter. Now, obviously, there are many kinds of songwriting, and I'm sure that from a logical perspective, the idea of any one of those kinds being songier than any other is outright fallacious. If you're writing songs at all, then by definition, you're doing so in a songy way, and it's as simple as that. But logic is for smart people and not for chumps like me, so bear with me, if you will, while I try and isolate the vibe I mean. Not too long ago, Big Thief released a new album called Double Infinity, and it comes in the wake of, in my opinion, two relatively clear masterpieces. 2022's Dragon New War Mountain I Believe in You, and Lenker's 2024 solo album Bright Future. Although I'm not quite sure that Double Infinity ranks with its immediate predecessors, I have certainly been enjoying it a great deal. And the band's style has drifted again, as is its wont, this time towards a hazier, sunnier, dare I say more Californian style of folk rock than Dragon New War Mountain, a double album that varies quite freely on what I would call Appalachian fundaments. Appalachian? What am I talking about? Anyway, my regard for Lenker could hardly get any higher, but it's usually the case that the best art, and indeed the best artists, can be the hardest to get a handle on. Just what is it that I've come to love so much about this one person's work, or what is it that indicates to me their specialness? And one thing that my dumb brain kept thinking while listening to Double Infinity is that she's just infinitely songy. Like I said, there are many kinds of songwriting, and we might imagine a spectrum between two extremes. Long, abstract, perhaps ultimately formless songs. I think of those half-hour rambles that the band Swans love to make, and short, definite, structured songs, much like early rock and roll, or indeed contemporary charting pop. Lenker moves along this spectrum with ease, able to present a free flow of thoughts, or the tightest, most direct, traditional chord-melody lyric combo you could ask for. On Double Infinity, for instance, you've got the glazed-eyed mantric track No Fear on the one hand, and then the gorgeous and lucid ballad of the title track on the other. This flexibility goes right through her craft, from the way she sings, is she also our singiest singer? It's possible, to the way she writes lyrics, to the way she plays guitar, and so on. And a particularly songy effect of her capability across the songwriting spectrum is just how timeless and familiar her songs can sound. I mean this in a good way, I'm certainly not accusing her of theft or laziness, but you think, surely there must be precedents for this tune that I'm hearing. A melody this plain and insistent must have been thought of before, and probably more than once. And indeed, I think this suspicion surely is true, only no given listener has the knowledge or attention necessarily to recognise it. Again, I'm not talking about plagiarism, far from it. There is just, I think, in our cultural memory, a kind of shared store of song that gets recombined and re-expressed down the ages. The songiest songwriters, and these are the great ones, you know, the Bob Dylans, the Joni Mitchells, the Princes, the Cole Porters, the whoever you'd want to say. The songiest songwriters are the people who do this work the best. They make us feel the commonality and consistency of that heritage while refreshing it with what we hear as their artistic individuality. They create the impression of someone who just can't help but communicate in a songful way. I still don't think this really cracks why I love Lenker's work so much, but I guess I'll stick to my original, if slightly dubious, theory that my inability to do so is directly proportional to said work's quality. For now, suffice to say that in this channel's opinion, she's the best. Her songy work is only getting richer and songier with time, and Double Infinity has given me no reason to doubt it. Well, have you heard it? More importantly, have you watched this?